serious and showed that he failed to respect women and their boundaries. He expressed hope that the victim would be able to heal from what happened. Holland was sentenced to serve 180 days in jail, but not given any credit for previous time. When released, he'll be on probation for up to 48 months. KBNU News Time is 4:05. KBNU weather for tonight. Slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm this evening, mostly cloudy skies. The overnight low in the low 60s. And then tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, high temperature in the lower 90s. A little bit more cloud cover this afternoon than we had yesterday. Our high has been, though, 94. Right now it's 88 at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aid technology. Call 753-HEAR, 753-HEAR.
If you're a do-it-yourself kind of guy or gal, then your locally owned Napa Auto Parts store is a good place to know. At Napa, they feature all the best brands: Croyle, Amsoil, Schaefer, BG, Seafoam. Find the parts, find the oil you need to keep your car and equipment running best. And for the times you need professional help working on your car, they can recommend a dozen Napa Car Care Centers with ASE certified techs. 5 locations locally owned. Preston to Providence. Voted Auto Parts Gold winner, Best of Northern Utah. Napa Auto Parts.
KBNU News Time is 4:06. A hearing was held on Monday after a couple sued Corey Richens for fraud regarding the sale of a home in 2020 that allegedly contained toxic mold. Corey was a real estate agent for K. Richens Realty, LLC, a company that she started in April 2019. She was not present for Monday's hearing. According to court documents, she was sued by her clients in November 2022. They claimed significant leaks and toxic mold was discovered in their Heber City home because of pre-existing issues, including improper installations that were not disclosed to them prior to their purchase. Inspectors visited the home and allegedly found hazardous levels of fungus in the basement bedroom, which the client's child occupied along with other parts of the residence. They reported that a water line leak in January 2021 caused flooding, mold, and further damage to the residence due to improperly installed windows and a rotting roof. The plaintiffs are seeking damages for medical expenses incurred due to exposure to mold and mold spores in their home. According to Monday's hearing, they're preparing to file an amended complaint. Corey, who is also a Utah children's author, was arrested in May for other charges related to the death of her husband, Eric Richens. Eric was found dead in their Camas, Utah home on March 4th, 2022. A medical examiner found him with 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system, which was determined to be the cause of his death. Corey was accused of criminal homicide, aggravated murder, and 3 counts of possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. And powerful winds during a microburst forced multiple semis to tip over on southbound I-15 in Millard County. According to a video, the high winds caused several trucks to overturn at around 5 p.m. Monday near milepost 163 in Fillmore. A special weather statement was issued for the Fillmore area, indicating that strong winds expected to range at 55 miles per hour were forecasted. The alert was set to expire at 5:45 p.m. It was unknown if the driver was injured during the incident or what the truck was hauling. No other details were immediately available. KBNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Information and news you need. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
What if you could come home every day to a peaceful retreat nestled in the mountains? A place that's only minutes from downtown Logan, but offers access to national forests from your own backyard, surrounded by mountains, horse riding, hiking trails, babbling brooks, and more. All this at Maple Creek Ranch, which is now in its 4th and final phase of development. 2.5-acre lots, your own piece of paradise that's remote yet accessible. And road improvements will be completed this summer. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Go to maplecreekranch.net. Maple Creek Ranch, just east of Franklin, Idaho.
Join Operation Underground Railroad and Rise Up for Children Everywhere on World Trafficking Awareness Day, Saturday, July 29th. There will be a support and awareness walk from Merlin Olsen Park to the Logan Courthouse. They'll have snacks for everyone and a chance to win great prizes from local businesses. Be at the Merlin Olsen Park South Pavilion by 12 noon on Saturday, July 29th to participate. Look for Rise Up for Children on Facebook for more information.
Oh, we live in a great area. Are you just back from a camping trip? Don't take your sleeping bags to the dry cleaner. Come to Mount Logan Laundry. For just a few quarters, our 55 or 80-pound washers and 80-pound dryers will have those bags clean for your next trip. Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. Plus, they're open until midnight. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry.
We are there in your community. Small business owners, mechanics, police officers, homemakers. And we are there serving our nation in the Air Force Reserve. When medical emergencies arise, in cybersecurity, when natural disasters happen, we are there in space. We are Reserve Citizen Airmen, and we are there with over 180 different jobs to serve your country. Air Force Reserve.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, that's one nice new bike, Josie.
Yeah, birthday present. Rides really smooth, too. Oh, and I see you finally got a new helmet.
I did. Bought it cheap online.
Love those side wings.
Hey, are you hungry?
Yeah, I'm starving. And need some water, too.
Okay, follow me. We'll turn off here.
I'm right behind you.
Hey, watch the cars. They can be crazy.
Teddy! No! Are you okay? Teddy! Somebody do something!
I called 911. They should be here soon.
Was this young man hit by a car?
Yes, and I'm concerned because his helmet is smashed and cracked open.
It's a brand new helmet.
It's probably a fake.
Please help him.
Fakes cause real harm. You're smart. Buy smart.
Go for real.
Brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council and the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't? I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the People. It is Tuesday, July 16th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well, kicking things off today with a very special guest. She joins us on a regular basis now. Former Cache County Republican Party Chair Shellie Giddings here in the studio. And we invited Shellie to come in and join us once a month to talk about whatever she wants to talk about. Last month we talked about the interesting dynamics of the Congressional District 2 race, and that's now taken shape since we last talked with, let's see, we have 3 candidates that will be on the ballot there for voters in District 2, keeping the brand new state Republican Party chair very busy. How would that be to come in, you're just elected chair, and then, here you go.
Oh.
That sort of happened to you, though, right?
A little bit. But it happened to him on a much bigger level.
I can't even imagine having to.
No.
Yeah. The legislature moves the election days, and you've got to figure out how to make all this work. And they're planning debates and more. It's, of course, voters here in District 1 won't get to vote in that election. That's a Congressional District 2 special election only. But that we are all affected by it in that election day has been moved from the second Tuesday, or the first Tuesday in November to the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So just keep that in mind, and there will be more coming. We have local primaries, of course, that will play out, city elections or municipal elections and more. And so far, have you seen a lot of campaigning? I haven't yet. I've seen a few signs here and there, but other than that, not much.
No, actually. That's not much at all.
It's kind of tradition, for better or worse, here in Cache Valley. Things don't really get rolling until, with the primary in September, that's normally when candidates start ramping up for the general election, but with everything being offset, who knows?
Well, as far as signs, though, you don't want to get your signs out too soon, because then they become part of the landscape.
Yeah, that happens to me.
So you want to kind of wait on that. So if you are campaigning, just keep that in mind.
It does. I always say, so I used to work in marketing a bit, though I'm not trained in that. It sort of accidentally became some of my job working with small businesses. And I always joke that I'm the worst person to be marketed to because I understand the tactics. And so when I see a sign for a business or a candidate or a campaign, I'm more thinking, well, that's a good design. That would probably be memorable. I'm thinking of it from a technical perspective. So I laugh when people try to market to me, and I just don't. Don't waste your time. I will pick it apart. And what have you been up to? This is a situation for you where no longer having the duties of chair, still being very involved in the process, watching the Republican Party take shape. We had a great interview yesterday with Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs.
Okay.
And he brought Chase along with him, and who is a local podcaster and activist, 17 years old, will be eligible to vote in the election next year, of course, and he's working with the Staggs campaign. It was really cool to see someone that young, that engaged, and excited about just being a part of it. I hope that's a trend.
Yeah, we need more of that. We need more youth, but not just talking either, right? Not just doing a podcast, but getting involved, doing some work maybe, helping with campaigns, that kind of a thing, I think is super important. But here's my advice to people, however. Trent Staggs has come out very early.
Yeah.
Don't throw your support behind him until you know who else is going to run.
Because we have no idea right now, right?
Exactly.
Romney hasn't said one way or another whether he's going to run for re-election. Speaker of the House, Brad Wilson, is still in an exploratory committee phase, which can mean a lot of different things. So, yeah, I love when candidates announce early. But I say the same thing to voters. Sit on your vote for now. Don't dedicate yourself to who you hear from first, because, man, remember the big Senate race. It was when Mike Lee was elected. We had, I think 9 Republicans. The current attorney general was one of them. His campaign imploded within weeks. His own fault. We had conservative activist Sherilyn Eager, and Mike Lee was just a nobody through all this. People were writing him off, and just, this is a name recognition run. People will run one time just to get known, knowing they won't win. And I think even Mike himself sort of thought that at first.
Yeah.
And then he was United States Senator within a few months. So, yeah, you have no idea how this is going to play out. But
and I told Mike, I did help on his campaign, but I said, I'm watching you because I don't know. When they're brand new, there's no track record.
Yeah.
Talk is cheap, right? Talk is cheap, and so I said, I'm watching, and if you don't do what you say you're going to do, well, he's my favorite senator, and I love Mike Lee, and I think he's lived up to what he said. So
that's But
that could be another topic for another day. I don't know.
That's the one thing, I don't agree with everything Senator Lee. There are a couple things I'm right there with him in. When he says Congress isn't doing its job, and that's why we have the problems we have with the presidency, spot on. I love him on criminal justice reform. But the one thing you can say about Mike Lee, whether you are out there listening and you love him and hate him, he's consistent.
Yes.
He's the same guy he was when he ran in 2010. And I think there's some value in that. It's something that's lacking.
Yes.
Our state legislature frustrates me. They all campaign as libertarians, basically, not even Republicans. And then once elected, not here in Cache Valley, of course, we have a good crop here, but I get frustrated with that. So, the general message is there's a long time until Election Day. There will be a primary about a year from now before anything is really even decided on that front. And so get to know the candidates before you, pledge yourself to one.
Yes.
You brought paperwork with you today.
I did, because I did some research. Remember, we were going to talk about why the school board can raise our property taxes.
This is one of the most fun topics because honestly, it's. So I remember this incident that happened a while ago where there was a big brouhaha over property tax increases, and the county council was just eating it. Just that people were those public hearings were packed. That people were showing up. There was no shouting or anything like that at these meetings, but people were obviously passionate and angry. And throughout the whole thing, the county council never made the decision to do that. It fell on them because they're the taxing entity. So they had to have some public meetings and some official votes to mechanize the whole thing. But the decision was actually made by a school district. And that got lost in all of it. We did a fascinating show on that, but it's complicated, right? The way this is written out in the state of Utah is difficult to understand at a quick glance.
Well, yes. The legislature has told a school board that they have to hold a truth in taxation meeting if they want to raise property taxes, right? Education always needs money, right? I mean, that's just, and
it's always growing, right?
Yes.
The needs.
Yes. And as a former teacher, I understand that education needs money, but education also needs accountability.
Sure.
And we don't really have that. I actually talked to our state auditor, John Dougal, who told me to tell you hi, by the way.
He's a great guy.
I love John. And we
quick note on John. There are some people out there that still loathe him because of something that happened in 2011. And I always want to say, this is Mr. Government Transparency.
Yeah.
He has gotten so many bills through the legislature just by talking to the right people to open government up and make it more accessible. And he doesn't get enough credit for that. It's not even his job as auditor to do that, but he does it anyway.
Well, and he's done that in this arena. So, because I sent him a message and I said, hey, John, I can't find anywhere where the Cache County School Board or school district is accountable. Where can I find how they spend their money? And so he called me. And he has a website. It's called Project Kids, and if you go to auditor.utah.gov, it's on there. Where when he became auditor, he said he would go to a superintendent and say, all right, how much money does it cost to run Ridgeline High School? And he said they had no idea.
Yeah.
They could tell you how much they spent as a whole on education. We spent, $80 million or whatever.
Like how much their budget was,
right.
how much.
But they couldn't break it down to a particular school. And then he said, and it was even worse when you would ask them, well, what about this science class? How much do you spend on this science class? No idea whatsoever. So he has broken things down. And you can go to that website. It's a really good website. And it shows you how much the schools are spending in certain areas, which I think is important.
All areas, too.
Yes.
From teacher pay to, school-to-school comparisons.
Yes.
Performance, when salary or when budgets have increased or decreased and how that tracks with performance. It's really amazing.
Well, and I think that's important when a school district is going to tell us that they want to raise our property taxes. I mean, let's start with the bond that we had, in 2013?
It was.
To build the high schools. Yeah, to build the high schools. Okay, do you remember that? I remember they sent out a survey, and I looked it up. This survey only went to 3,500 homes.
Wow.
How many students do we have in cash? Right now we have we have more than 19,000 right now. So maybe we had a few less 10 years ago.
Sure.
But the survey only went to 3,500 people. Yeah. And according to their information, only 1,000 people responded. Okay. Wow. And if you look at the survey, nowhere does it say. The questions are, do you support building one high school or two high schools?
Yeah.
Nowhere is there or no high schools, right?
Yeah, that was an option.
That was not an option.
That's interesting.
Okay. So when you took the survey, you had to decide, do I support building one high school? Do I support building two high schools? But you couldn't choose, I don't think we should build any high schools.
Yeah.
So, they slanted it to what they wanted.
I forgot about that survey.
And so when it went, and a bond always goes to the vote, right? People have to vote on a bond.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a difference between 184 votes. It won by 184 votes. So what does that tell you? A lot of people didn't want the bond. But here we are. So now we're stuck with the bond. Then...
And that was a 20-year bond?
13.
I don't remember exactly. I know it was lengthy.
It was, and I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember
the length
exact.
either.
Yeah.
Okay, so they built Ridgeline High School. The very next year, they raised our property taxes because now they have to pay to run the school. The bond didn't cover that. Then they build Green Canyon High School.
Yeah.
The next year, they raised property taxes again to be able to cover running Green Canyon High School. That's a lot of increase in our property taxes for two high schools. Now, they'll tell you, but it's only about the cost of one hamburger a month. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the
that's
next year...
technically true, right?
But then the next year, it's another hamburger a month. And then the next year, right? And it just keeps going. What about that single mom who can't afford that $60 a year? And now we've pushed her into maybe food stamps or some kind of welfare program.
That is... When you look at it, I mean, because they're right, it is just the price of a hamburger that time. But then what gets me is that, okay, so that was 10 years ago. Schools have been built. They're up and operational. If we needed that, great. It seems like we did. We're not done.
No.
There's going to be additional need. We're going to have additional schools. That bond might still be existent when that comes up. That's what we're talking about here, right? The cumulative effect.
And we had a bond existing from 2006, I believe,
that's right.
when we did this new bond, right? And they are talking about doing another bond for some elementary school things. And again, if it's needed, I get
Sure.
it, but I want to know where they are spending their money.
I think it's honestly,
I think that's fair.
This is the basic level of government transparency so voters can understand where we're at. Check out Project Kids. I've linked to it on our Facebook page from the Office of the State Auditor. John Dougal created this, and we'll keep the conversation going. If you'd like to join us, 753-5868. Now a quick look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:30. The news is brought to you by Logan Extermination. A campground site was evacuated after a wildfire broke out near Flaming Gorge in Daggett County. The fire, officially named the Sunny Cove Fire, started around 3:30 Monday, and it burned about 5 acres of land. According to Utah fire officials, the Daggett County Sheriff's Office asked around 70 to 80 trailers at the nearby Mustang Campground to evacuate out of precaution. The fire occurred within the jurisdiction of the U.S. Forest Service. The crews said the fire was caused by lightning in the area. Dry and hot conditions in the area was contributing to the inability to contain the fire. Firefighters were working to control the blaze and stop it from spreading further. It was unknown if any of the fire was contained as of last evening. As the U.S. struggles with prescription drug shortages, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has advanced a modest plan that she hopes will prod Washington to address weaknesses in the international pharmaceutical supply chain. Noem told reporters last week that her state will expand its stockpiles of medications that have been in short supply. She also used the occasion to urge the FDA to make the U.S. less dependent on foreign suppliers. Noem says she hopes other governors and members of Congress take notice and push Washington to fix what she calls a real risk to national security. There were 309 active drug shortages in the U.S. at the end of June, according to the University of Utah Drug Information Service. That's up from 295 at the end of last year and the highest total recorded since 2014. And a bison significantly injured an Arizona woman in Yellowstone National Park. Park officials say the attack happened Monday morning in a field near Lake Lodge on the north side of Lake Yellowstone. They say the 47-year-old woman from Phoenix was walking in the field with another person when they saw 2 bison. The people turned to walk away. One of the bison then charged and gored the woman, causing significant injuries to her chest and abdomen. She was taken by helicopter to Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center in Idaho Falls. It is Yellowstone's first bison attack this year. 2 such attacks happened in 2022. KVNU News Time is 4:33.
As the summer's war against weeds and pests rages on, a new bug threat starts hopping around, destroying garden plants and flowers. Luckily, you are ready for them with Logan Extermination's Perimeter Grasshopper Control. It's like a minefield for the minute menace.
Good job, men. Another bug bites the dirt. Let's regroup before the next wave hits.
They do what they are trained to do. Strike terror into termites, bash the bed bugs, and cook the cockroaches. Remember the brave men and women at Logan Extermination. Call 752-8450.
Treatment areas vary. Call for a quote today.
Charges are mixed against 16 fake electors accused of trying to overturn the 2020 presidential election.
They carried out these actions with the hope and belief that the electoral votes of Michigan's 2020 election would be awarded to the candidate of their choosing instead of the candidate that Michigan voters actually chose.
State Attorney General Dana Nessel, many Republicans rally around former President Trump, who says he's been informed that he is a target in the special counsel investigation into alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election.
What else they charged him with? They'll come up with something. It's a farce.
South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman. More extreme summer weather. 75 million Americans from California to Florida remain under heat alerts or warnings. And from Missouri to Maine, they're at risk for flash flooding and severe storms. South Korean state news says North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles into the East Sea. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening, low around 60, slight chance of storms in the afternoon on Wednesday, partly cloudy, high in the lower 90s. About a 40% chance of storms Wednesday night, looks like the best chance. Then back to mostly sunny skies and still in the 90s on Thursday. It's been to 94. Right now we do have some storms that are tracking east, affecting, looks like mostly the northern half of Cache County and also into Franklin County, Idaho, so could see some rain in some parts of the valley in the not-too-distant future. Right now we have 87 degrees at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry with their 55 and 80-pound washers to make your stay much shorter. Located in Logan and Brigham City. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's get Wall Street results now from Edward Jones.
This is Branch Office Administrator Brittany Chambers bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of Financial Advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. Stock markets were higher on Tuesday with the S&P 500 on pace for a sixth day of gains out of the last 7 days. This comes as U.S. retail sales climbed at a gradual pace in June, and large bank earnings continue to surprise to the upside. Meanwhile, 10-year U.S. Treasury yields were modestly softer on Tuesday, lower by 0.01% to around 3.79%, below recent highs of over 4%. The U.S. dollar also went flat on the day, with the DXY dollar index modestly under 100, down about 3% this month. Part of this move lower in the U.S. dollar may be because markets now expect that the Fed will pause its rate hiking campaign after the July 25th through 26th FOMC meeting, putting a cap on interest rates. Today, U.S. equities closed higher. The Dow closed up 367 points, or 1.06%, at 34,952. The Nasdaq closed up 109 points, or 0.76%, at 14,354. The S&P closed up 32 points, or 0.71%, at 4,555. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot is up 71 cents to $316.76. Lowe's is up $1.94 to $229.91. Nucor is up $3.85 to $171.28. Pepsi is down $1.18 to $184.45. Thermo Fisher is down $1.58 to $523.68. Walmart is down 28 cents to $154.57. Zions Bank is up $1.07 to $32.43, and Northrop Grumman is down $11.56 to $442.68. This has been today's financial market report brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Daryl Arnell, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
If it's leaking, replace it. If it's worn, replace it. If you're constantly worrying about it with every windstorm, replace it. What are we talking about? Your roof. Palmer's Metal Mart is your place for a long-lasting, great-looking metal roof for your home, cabin, barn, or shed. Metal roofing is the put-it-up-and-forget-about-it roofing solution. For almost 30 years, people have chosen Palmer's Metal Mart for metal roofing for their selection, price, and most importantly, the professional help you get with your project. From start to finish, Metal Mart can help you with all the options for your amazing metal roof. Whether it's an accent on your roof or a complete re-roof, Palmer's Metal Mart is the place to go. Metal provides a unique and timeless look that gives the wow factor to any project. So come see the metal roofing experts at Palmer's Metal Mart, located in Lehigh and Logan. We're ready to help. Ask about quick same-day will calls or delivery to your door. Palmer's Metal Mart, everyone's metal store.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Really excited for this. Fun to have conversations with people who are not just, involved in Utah politics, but dedicated to making a difference. And one of them, for sure, is former Cache County GOP Chair Shellie Giddings, our guest here in the studio this hour. You're welcome to join us, 753-5868. I know this is a topic that gets a lot of feelings going for everyone listening, but we're talking about school district funding, how school districts can affect your property taxes with increases and more, truth in taxation requirements, force some transparency on the process. But there's room for more. As Shellie has mentioned, the state auditor is also of the same mind, and John Dougal has created a website through the auditor's office called Project Kids. And by the way, this won several awards, national awards, when it was launched. And it's basically a live, constantly updated, continuous audit of public education, financing, funding, operational performance, and you can visualize this stuff. It's really great. And one thing I want to throw out, there is nothing anti-public education about this. Where Dougal is coming from, in his own words, he said them right here on our show a year ago. This is important to him because he believes Utah public education can be great. He doesn't believe that we've stumbled upon a perfect model that we can just leave alone and never tweak and change. And that's basically what he said led him to this. And that's where you're coming from too, Shellie, right? We talked about the bond to construct Ridgeline and Green Canyon High School. And during the break, I made this comment that hopefully for listeners will help understand where we're coming from, why we're having this conversation today, and why we hope people themselves, individually get involved in this and start asking questions. So let's take it as a given, and it may not have been, but just for the sake of this argument, we'll say it's a given we needed the new schools, and that bonding is the most effective way to make that happen, and we'll put all that aside as, okay, that had to happen. Maybe it didn't, but for now we'll say it did. Then comes a new set of questions. Where's the best place to locate the school? Where's the cheapest place to locate the school? Could the schools be constructed more cheaply? And then that leads to another set of questions where you start talking about, okay, when the schools are up, they're running. Administrative costs, are they as low as they could be? And I mentioned to you during Governor Herbert's era, his education advisor, Tammy Pfeiffer, had some great data that showed that Utah's administrative costs in public education are lower by far than the national average. And that's great. Does that mean they are as low as they could get? And that is a question that has nagged at me since. We don't know that, right? We don't know if the administrative costs of schools, which is the first place you could make changes without affecting directly a child's education.
Correct.
And so we just don't know the answers to those questions. And that's what you're talking about here, right? That
exactly.
type of transparency.
And if you want to know what the teachers and the administrators of your schools make, you can go to openpayrolls.com.
Yeah.
And like right here, number 4 on the list is a principal who makes over $200,000 a year.
Sure.
Okay.
That's
I don't know where to go with that,
right?
Like,
if that's competitive, great. You have to attract talent. But if it's not, and again, the point here is we don't know the answers to these questions, and we need to start knowing the answers to these questions.
So a math teacher at Ridgeline High School makes $155,000 a year. This math teacher, I'm not going to say who it is, but I've had 3 children have this teacher, and this teacher was not a good math teacher.
Which raises a whole other set of questions,
yes.
right? And brings us back to the accountability within the schools.
Exactly. So, if you want to raise my property taxes, I want a better education for my child.
Sure.
Right?
That's a fair expectation, right?
I think we should get rid of tenure so that we can get rid of bad teachers. That's a whole nother topic we can have another day.
We'll do another hour on higher education.
And people will say to me, well, why are you anti-teacher? I'm not. I have a master's degree in education. I used to be a teacher. I'm not anti-teacher at all.
Sure.
Or even, it comes down to, there's a lot of emotion tied up in this, right? Like we were talking about with the bond, the last bond they did. It's for the kids. That's how they advertised it. It's for the kids.
Sure.
Well, okay, so let's get some better math teachers then. How about we do that for the kids?
Sure. Let's make sure that the performance of the schools is, and I think it's fair to say this all with a qualifier that no system's going to be perfect. You're always going to have the occasional bad teacher. You're always going to have the occasional great teacher.
Right.
You're always going to have the occasional school that's built and then you realize was built wrong and in the wrong place and costs more money. That stuff's going to happen. We know that. We're talking about overall broadly bringing a little more accountability into this in a way that so I believe the accountability exists if someone has the time and dedication to dig and dig and dig and then go to their school boards and say, here's what I found. No one has that time.
Well, and it takes a lot of digging. I went onto the Cache County School District website, and there are things that just aren't there.
Yeah. That's one of the problems with the state is it's all online somewhere, but it's not as consolidated as it probably should be to find the information.
They seem to not make it very easy to find.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but...
This is interesting. One of the things we tried to do when I was, well, I still am technically, though the board is currently, just paused. But about 11 years I've been on the State Transparency Advisory Board, and one of the things that we've been fighting for throughout that 11 years is to get the state to put a little money into exactly this, to consolidating things. We did get them to create opendata.utah.gov and start just pouring everything into there. But you still have to know what you're looking for. It's still not intuitive to find it. You still have to know. So in some cases, to find certain information about schools, you have to know which government entity produced the data to find it.
Right.
So it's there. They're not breaking the law. But is it usable for the average parent? No, not at all.
Right. Well, and again, to me it comes down... Well, okay, let's talk about the truth and taxation meetings for a minute.
Okay.
They're required to have them. When they want to raise our property taxes, they have to have this meeting. It's required by the legislature. But guess what? What do the school districts do? At least here, both of them. They will have the truth and taxation meeting 1 hour before the meeting where they're going to vote on whether or not they're going to approve the increase.
Yeah.
Right? So they've already made up their mind. They're only having the meeting because they have to.
Yeah.
And they don't listen because for some reason, and I want to make this clear as well. I believe that these are good people and they have good intentions, right?
Sure.
But I also believe that they haven't ever run a huge organization, right?
Yeah.
They're all teachers, most likely, former teachers. And they want to do what they think is best for kids.
And that gets compartmentalized, too.
Yes.
So you're doing what is best for kids in your community, and that's great. But on a full picture perspective, are we planning this out the best? Are we,
And, so there was a bill, the last legislative session, it was HB 372.
This is so interesting.
And just... right in the description, it says it provides that a new tax or tax increase passed by a local school board may be referred to voters for their approval or rejection, right? So it could go to a referendum. Well, they did not want this to pass, and it was killed in committee. It didn't even get out of committee.
Because basically it would have said people can organize and stop this stuff. Maybe not permanently, but they can throw up a handbrake and say, whoa, we need to talk about this more.
Right, which...
And they said, how dare you?
Pretty much. Now, and I talked to my House representative about this, and he came back to me and he said, no, this is a terrible bill. We can't do this. This is why we have truth and taxation meetings. I said, when was the last time you heard a truth and taxation meeting?
Yeah, it's a great question.
And I told him what happened. He goes, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had no idea. So I was so mad that this was killed in committee because the residents of Cache County should have a say whether or not their property taxes are increased.
Yeah.
They should.
Really. They on both sides, they should have all the information to make the decision, completely honest and transparent picture painted for them to make the decision, and then they should also be included in the process of making the decision, I think. And that's where truth and taxation kind of it bites us a little bit. It's a great idea. It's a check. It means they can't raise property taxes without going before the public. And I like it, truth in taxation, for that reason. But like you've said here, they've found a way to follow that law while at the same time not following the intent of the law.
Exactly.
It's a formality, and then they just go out the vote they were going to have. Yes, people are screaming and mad out in the other room, but we're doing. And again, it's not to say that Shellie or I are saying there is massive fraud or abuse, or that there's, but we know that every decision made is not perfect. And we know that we have made mistakes. The legislature, counties, cities, the school boards themselves, when it comes to planning and being short-sighted sometimes. And really what it comes down to, though, is we're invited into this process as residents, and then we're not really invited in.
Exactly. So, that's my issue, is we should be listened to. Not pretend to listen to, but for real. And again, I understand education does need funding.
Sure.
Of course it does.
And as you said at the start, it's going to get more and more expensive because we have a lot of kids.
Right. But can we look at programs that we can eliminate? You know that there are programs out there that we can eliminate, but it's somebody's pet project.
Sure.
And they don't want to eliminate it. We all know that those exist. So why aren't we looking at, instead of we need more money, how about what can we cut out? And don't tell me you can't cut anything, because we all know that you can.
That is one example that was thrown out a long time ago by a former teacher talking about the same thing. And I remember sitting in the audience, and this is burned into my brain now. She said, I'm not saying I have the answers. What I am saying is that we need to ask more questions. And one example is, we all agree that there is probably a preferred class size. We can disagree on what that is, whether it's 25 kids or 35 kids or 15 kids, but we all agree that somewhere class size does play a role in student performance. And so are we asking questions like, would students have a better education experience and better options in life when done with K through 12 education in a less fancy school but smaller class sizes?
Yeah.
Or would you rather see 35, 40 students in a classroom in a super fancy school? And she said, I'm a teacher, and I'm literally seeing us bounce back and forth between these two. Who are we? Which one is the goal? And that's burned in my brain because I thought that nails it perfectly.
It does. Absolutely. Well, and education has a monopoly, right? There's no competition.
Sure.
We need to make it competitive. I like the idea of backpack funding. That's kind of the trendy way of saying the money follows the student.
Sure.
If that were the case...
we don't say vouchers in Utah because lawmakers are still sore about that one.
Well, but even... Right. But so if the money followed the student to the school, we're going to have schools dang well making sure that they were run most efficiently and effectively and doing the best that they could do, right? Competition is a good thing, and we don't have that.
That's one thing. I have to throw this out quickly before we go to the break. One thing that has improved on that front, though, the legislature seems to have calmed down. For a while there, the legislature had a new plan for schools every year. And then they come back and say, well, we've changed our mind. We're going to do this now. So we were grading schools. Then we weren't grading schools. Then we were grading teachers. Then we weren't grading teachers. Then and the legislature finally seems to have just sat back and said, okay, we're not the experts.
Right.
Let's talk to the education community. That's a step in the right direction, and the backpack funding did happen on at least a small scale in this last legislative session. That program can grow if they choose to, but right now it's kind of on a small scale. What do you think? 753-5868. Shellie Giddings, former Cache Canada GOP chair, our guest, talking about transparency in education funding, in school bonding, in pay, salaries, administrative and otherwise. And, of course, State Auditor John Dougal's big project on this front, Project Kids, which you can find at auditor.utah.gov/kids and see a lot of the data that he's collected already on this front. We'll be back right after this.
Are you a hot sleeper? Warm summer nights can make it hard to sleep. UNI Furniture recommends sleeping cooler with a gel memory foam mattress. UNI features a copper-infused gel memory foam that helps with coolness and circulation. It moves better with you, giving you the best night's sleep. UNI is also the home of Chair Heaven. There's a reason they sell so many chairs, including recliners. For over 90 years, there's always been a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
Oh, we live in a great area. Are you just back from a camping trip? Don't take your sleeping bags to the dry cleaner. Come to Mount Logan Laundry. For just a few quarters, our 55 or 80-pound washers and 80-pound dryers will have those bags clean for your next trip. Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, plus they're open until midnight. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry.
Are you a renter looking for peace of mind and affordable insurance coverage? This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. As an independent auto owner's insurance agency, we have access to multiple insurance carriers and will give you options. We offer renters insurance policies that can be tailored to fit your needs. From protecting your personal belongings to liability coverage, Quality First has you covered. Call us today for a free quote. Auto owners and Quality First Insurance.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Wrapping things up here with our guest Shellie Giddings in the studio, talking school funding transparency, from salaries to costs of construction of new schools to truth in taxation, the data that's out there and how hard it can be to find for the average parent especially. And Shellie, I thought it would be great to wrap up on this note. So parents out there listening, people who just want to know more, maybe get involved in influencing things in a positive way, you've done it. How would you recommend they start? Because it is time-consuming, right?
It is time-consuming. Go to school board meetings. Find out what they're talking about. Get involved on your school's community council. That's a really good way to know what the school is doing. Every school has a community council, and that council discusses things that are happening within the school and makes decisions. So get involved there. But just be aware. Be aware of what the school board is doing. Because this whole truth in taxation thing, it's a long process. They don't suddenly say, okay, we're going to have this meeting. They've been working on this for, 9-10 months.
Yeah.
So again, and if you can't go to a board meeting, look up the minutes. What did they talk about in the last meeting? What was talked about? And then that way you know what they're discussing. And if there's something that you're passionate about, then go to the next meeting. You can sign up to talk. And if you look at the minutes, most every meeting, nobody signs up to make any comments.
Yeah.
So start going and start making comments so that they know what we want as parents.
Sure. And also being the first or the earliest, you get a little outsized spotlight on your opinion, because they'll be shocked you showed up.
Right, exactly.
So take advantage of that right now.
And find out who your board member representative is. There's districts, and so you have a particular representative. Get to know that person.
Yeah.
And as far as your schools, let me tell you a story. My daughter, she will be a junior. Oh. She's been attending Ridgeline. She's actually transferring to Logan High School.
Oh, really?
She wasn't getting what she needed at Ridgeline in a certain area, and she feels that she can in Logan. So if you're not getting what you want, go to a different school.
Many parents don't know they have options like that.
Right.
I'm surprised when I run up against that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that has remained true in Utah for the most part is your child's education is the goal. And so if you're a parent out there, don't be afraid to get involved if there's something you'd like to change, even if it's, as Shellie mentioned, changing schools. It is an option. This is amazing. Check out the Auditor's website, auditor.utah.gov/kids for the Project Kids school transparency data. Some great visualizations there. You can even make your own and share them around your social media channels. And Shellie, always a pleasure. I'm already looking forward to next month.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, making the time. Okay. And thanks to our listeners for making the time to listen. We'll be back with more in Hour 2 right after this here on KVNU Logan.